Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me now. Let me know in the comments. There we go. I can hear myself. Okay. So welcome. I'm going to stick you back into the gimbal in a minute. If you don't mind holding on to that, you can keep an eye on the comments. Yeah, so welcome. It's been a while since we live streamed, and we're quite excited about the prospect. And for those of you that have joined us, maybe you want to start guessing as to where we are while I fiddle with this a little bit. Excuse me. Oh, no, that's not good. There we go. Okay, I think we're just about good to go. How are those comments coming along, James?
Quite a few.
Okay.
Sound is good.
Been a long time. Is that from Aflaz? Nice to see you back. Sound is loud and clear. So someone says we're in Africa. That is correct. Can you narrow it down anymore? So in the meantime, just to let you know what we're up to, we'd like to bring you these live streams more often. Some of you may recognize my voice from Mala Mala. A lot of water has passed on the bridge since then. I've been working with latest sightings, which has been great. And we are now testing to go live streaming again. So we're in a different location, and we're going to go on a little game drive and continue testing. Of course, some of you that were here earlier would have noticed that we have no audio. I've taken our lapel mics out for now, just so you can get this drive going and test some of the other equipment. And then perhaps at a later stage, we'll have those lapel mics working. So excuse the wind when we are driving. Of course, again, we'll be testing. KG1, hi mate, welcome back. Nice to see you again. Tanzania, Amanita, no, not Tanzania. Where's Ahina? K. Sanjay is asking where's Ahina. I actually heard one calling a minute ago. We've got a giraffe walking towards us. I don't know if you can see it in the distance there, just beyond that dead tree. So there we go. Let me zoom in a bit. Giraffe is wondering what we're up to, and some impalas in the distance there. So with me today is James K. They have kindly offered their... I'll put you on camera for us, just so they know. There we go.
Hi guys.
Yeah. So that they've let us test here. And for the rest of you, it's Gareth here. Nice to have you all back again. And I think let's get going. What we're going to do is drive around a bit. I'm going to get onto the front of the vehicle, so I'm not going to see all your comments. But if you want to stick with us during this testing, let's go on a game drive and enjoy it. So, yeah, if you want to keep that next to you. James has got my phone. I'm sitting in the tracker seat, so I don't want to have to hold the gimbal and the phone to keep an eye on your comments. So James will just check in to the comments every now and then, and you guys can... So to narrow down your guesses a bit, to narrow it down even more, when we were live streaming at Mala Mala Game Reserve, many of the male lions that end up on Mala Mala Game Reserve come from the area that I'm currently in. So we've woken up to a beautiful morning. It's not a cloud in the sky, but when we arrived here yesterday, it was pouring with rain. Yeah, we got some guinea fowl, some young chicks. James pointing it out there. I don't know if you can see it. They're going through the grass right now. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult to see on the small screen. We'll keep on driving. So as mentioned earlier, we are testing the live stream. The intention, we don't know where any of the game is. This is a private farm we're on. So we have arrived here without knowing where the leopards and lions are, but there are leopards and lions and cheetah and wild dog and all the rest of the game that you'd find in Kruger National Park on the reserve. We are going to drive along, test the equipment, and if we bump into anything, that's going to be great. Oh, it's fun. We can. I'll just point a little bit away from the sun. But we do have an impala over there, center of screen. And we are in the rutting season. So this is a male or ram impala over there. And they have been making a lot of noise lately. That noise is called rutting. And it's a lovely time of year to be here during the rut. All these males are fighting over territory and over female impalas. And the actual sound that they make brings the females into heat. And they are then able to mate with them. But they're so concerned about the females that they often get killed by predators. So at this time of year, most of the kills you see are impala rams in this area. So just to give another clue as to where we are, from this area, there's some more impalas. You can see this male herding this female. Wanting to keep her in his territory. And that's... Okay, you can move on. I think they're kind of behind the bushes. So just another clue. From this location, you can see South Africa's largest mountain range, the Drakensberg, for its lions. So we haven't checked the comments yet, so we don't know if anybody's guessed it right yet. But everybody gets it right. So, I don't know if, unfortunately, those lapel mics don't seem to be working for now. We're going to figure it out. So I'm just going to relay any information he gives to me. So I'm enjoying testing. It's nice to be in the bush again. Been based in Johannesburg for a while. And just say good morning to all of those in the office this morning. I know Nadav is awake, and in 10 minutes the rest of the will be in the office. So just to say hi to you and hi to Nadav. I know you're working up early. See some lion tracks on the ground here. That have crossed over in this direction. We're not going to check. Yeah. Okay, let's see. So James has just spotted. We'll zoom in a bit. Lilac-breasted roller. What are the comments there, James? Anybody guessing where we are yet?
There's a bit of a signal issue just now.
Okay.
But
Are we live again?
yeah, it seems like we're back on again.
Okay. And is anybody guessing as to where we are? Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more.
No, you can't see it now.
Yeah, there's a bit of a lag. But yeah, this is what we've stopped for, this lilac-breasted roller. Sitting in a knobthorn tree. Okay, moving on.
So the video is buffering from every now and then.
Okay,
So something to
bear in mind. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this. Yeah, we'll just have to figure it out as we go along. But I mean, this is why we're here, to figure it out. Is it buffering often?
The driver's asking, is the buffering bad for everyone? It's a yes or no thing.
Yeah, and
We'll see what they say.
okay. Nadav, is the buffering bad for you? Content discussion says, I've just got a private message here on my phone saying it's not buffering. Okay, yeah, answer. Just say no.
60%, 40%, 60% yes.
Okay. Okay. Glad you put no then.
It's not terrible, no buffering. It's okay, acceptable, as reliable as my kids.
As reliable as my kids. You commented that. Aflas. As reliable as my kids. There are some line tracks on the road looking in the direction that we are driving. So with any luck, we might bump into a
I'll check out. It's buffering now on my side.
yeah, but there's a tree in the way here. Yeah.
It only did the
Not here when and this reserve. Yeah.
one of the comments says that it's happened while we move, so
Okay.
it'll be okay.
We get back to the clues. This reserve is famous for lions. From this reserve, we are able to see South Africa's largest mountain range, the Drakensberg. And for those of you that remember me live streaming at Mars, this is actually not a bad spot. Okay, so we're just going to stop here for a second, catch up on some of these comments. We are now at a dam on this game reserve. I don't know if you are able to hear the impalas ratting, but there are some impalas ratting not too far from us. It's never a bad idea to sit at a dam for a little bit or at a water point, especially when we get into the dry season. Having said that, there has been a lot of rain this month. It's been very unusual for this time of year. At this property, it's rained at least 30 millimeters. And yeah, usually by March, the rain is done by the end of March. But let's catch up with some of those comments.
You want to take the phone from
Yeah, let me just have a look quickly. Buffering and not crystal clear. If you drive on the smooth side of the road, it might improve. Yeah. So we just need to lay down some tar quickly. Any chance of hippos? Amanita, we are at the right place for hippos. We haven't seen any yet. And then Renee van der Graaf, new Ian Bakkie Coffee. So obviously enjoying your morning coffee. I'm just going through some of these older comments here. Okay, we're buffering again. Okay, so people from the US, Netherlands, Pennsylvania, welcome everyone. What's the temperature? I don't know the exact temperature, but I'll describe it as comfortable. I'm wearing a hoodie and a jersey. What do you reckon it is, James? 20?
Maybe 19, 20.
Yeah, 19, 20 degrees Celsius. It is early in the morning here in South Africa, so it's quite fresh, but it's not very cold. It's quite comfortable. Okay, so Andries de Toy saying now very clear picture and not buffering. Excellent. Okay, that's good to know, Andries. Keith Wycliffe, hello from New Zealand. Hi, Keith. It must.
I think it's about 12 hours or 10 hours.
Yeah. I don't know if you could hear that, but there was a hippo calling. Is there a different dam close by?
Was it calling naps?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go there after this dam.
So after this dam, we're going to go to where that hippo was calling. And for those of you that have just arrived, and for those of you that were here earlier, I've been giving clues as to where we are. So we're in the greater Kruger National Park. We can see the Drakensberg from where we are. Hello from Mexico, Eric. And the area that we are in is very famous for lions. Any clues as to where we are? Okay, so we are in the Timbavati Game Reserve. And of course, the Timbavati is famous for white lions. And the pride of lions that carries one of the prides of lions, they're a couple. And giraffe pride is named after a farm called Giraffe Farm. And we are currently on Giraffe Farm. So, with any luck, we might see some lions from that pride.
We did hear some last night, not too far, so we'll go on the way back to the camp. We'll go past that area and see. Fine.
So, I don't know if you could hear James there, but he's just commenting that, we did hear lions last night, and we will aim in that direction on the way back to camp. So we'll see how this test comes along. Keith Wycliffe asking how close to hippos can you get before they get angry? Keith, I haven't tested that, and I don't plan on testing that anytime soon. But I think it depends on the temperament of the specific hippo, and it depends on the situation it's in. They feel safest in water. If you're going to bump into a hippo in the reeds, you best get out of there quickly. And I wouldn't recommend swimming in any of these bodies of water here. I think let's maybe carry on driving. Flo's commenting that he lost us. Let's carry on driving a little bit and just keep on testing. Thanks. Good idea just to sit quietly for a little bit, listen to what's out there. And good place to stop is always next to a body of water, whether it be a dam like this one or a river. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so to those of you that have just joined us, we're in the Timbavati Game Reserve testing all our new equipment for live streaming, and we're hoping that it works. We'd love to bring you more of these streams. We are currently on a private game reserve. It's not a commercial game reserve, and the K family offered for us to test it here. So we are headed to a second dam now. We're going to have a look and see if we can find some hippos there. Otherwise, if you are currently with us for the live stream, just enjoy the ride. I don't currently have my second phone on me because I've chosen to use my second hand to hold on to the handle. I'm currently sitting on the tracker seat, so right at the front of the vehicle. I don't want to risk falling off answering your comments. So I'm concentrating on holding the gimbal and the camera steady, and holding on with my other hand. Okay. Yeah, they're quite deep in the Schlittine there. Eh? Yeah. That's good. Plenty of comments about the lions. What are they asking, James?
I mean, comments along those lines.
Along those lines, okay. If this vehicle stalls, first of all, that's James K's fault for not driving it correctly. Hopefully animals won't just randomly attack us. In fact, we're pretty certain that they won't. These animals are used to the vehicles. They wouldn't risk being injured by a big machine like a vehicle. They don't know the capabilities of a vehicle. So that's the one thing. And secondly, at least in the daytime, most animals fear humans. You know, we are super predators to them. There are, I think, close on 8 billion of us on the planet for good reason. And that's because we are very efficient at, well, first of all, reproducing, but we are very good at surviving. Having
Angling more north now.
Okay.
Back on.
Okay, back on. Yeah, but for the most part, these animals in these reserves in the Greater Kruger National Park are used to the vehicles. They are quite relaxed having the vehicles around, and the cats in particular you can actually get quite close to. So if we're lucky enough to see a cat, then you will witness for yourself how relaxed they are around the vehicles. Got a couple of mongooses. So James is okay. They've just disappeared into center of screen is a little termite mound, and if we just sit here for a little bit, they might pop their heads out. There's some dwarf mongooses that we're catching the early morning light. As you can hear, some impalas ratting in the background. That are in the Timbavati. The Timbavati has the big five. The Timbavati has open fences with the Kruger National Park. And just about, not all of the animals, but just about all of the animals you find in Kruger National Park, you can find in the Timbavati. Now, of course, wild dogs have there you can see the dwarf mongoose just poking his head out of the termite mound now. So especially in winter, in the early morning, these dwarf mongooses like to climb out of their termite mounds. That's a termite mound that they've living in, and catch the morning sunlight. You know, it's not too cold here yet, but by July, August, it's very cold. And foraging, you'll see them sitting on their termite mounds. And once they're sufficiently warm, and once they are sure that there are no other predators about, they'll get going with their foraging. So, you know, sitting over there serves two functions. One is warming up, and the other one is just keeping an eye out for predators such as raptors, you know, eagles and falcons and those kinds of things.
James D is asking, is Nadav out with you?
So Nadav is currently James D. James K is relaying these messages to me. Nadav, unfortunately for him, Nadav, is in the office, and he is helping us out from that end. So morning to Nadav again. Yeah, the show must go on as well. We're planning to release some cool videos on our later sightings platforms. So, you know, the staff in the office are working at getting those released.
Shall I go up to the plains and we can have a nice view of the mountains?
So the person that just asked about the hyenas, I have just seen hyena tracks on this road that we're driving on. So they have been in the area recently. But hyenas can move a great distance at night, and they like to patrol, and they're very inquisitive. You know, if they hear anything being killed, they'll go and investigate. They'll follow scents of dead animals to see if they can acquire food that way. So they do walk around a lot at night. So just because you've seen the tracks in the road doesn't mean that we'll see any, but it does mean that one has passed by here recently. Tracks are pretty fresh, and then wild dogs cover a massive area. I know there were wild dogs denning in the Timbavati. Wild dog den. Hyena den, yeah, that would be great. So James just said there's a den we could go to now. He got my hopes up, thinking that it was a wild dog den, but apparently there's a hyena den that we can go to, which is awesome. Now the nice thing about den sites is that very often you actually find the animals there, as long as they are denning and using that den site. So that would be cool. So if you have a look around here, if you look in the picture, you'll see there are a lot of dead trees here. These were mostly killed by elephants, and what happens is they ring bark the trees. They're after nutrients. At the moment, as you can see on the ground, there is a lot of grass around, and there are lots of leaves on the trees. The elephants do eat grass, they do eat leaves. They prefer some grasses over other grasses, some species of grasses over other species of grasses. They prefer some species of trees over other trees. But in the winter, and in this area, the winters are typically dry. We are just at the start of winter now. Then there's usually very little grass around, and this is actually quite a lot of grass for this time of year. We've had a good rainy season. But when these animals are the herbivores are under pressure because there's very little food around, the elephants have the capability of peeling the bark off these trees. And James is just lining us up here nicely for this view. This is a lovely view, and it's very typical of this area of the Timbavati. We've got one of these dead trees in the foreground, and in the background we have South Africa's largest mountain range. So I'm going to get back to the elephants in just a minute. Let's just zoom in on this mountain range a bit. We're looking at the northern through Swaziland, south of Swaziland, into what's known as KwaZulu-Natal, a province in South Africa, and beyond that into Lesotho, a landlocked country in South Africa. And its highest point, I think, is in Lesotho. And yeah, it's pretty our most impressive mountain range. And on top of that mountain range, or just beyond that mountain range, is what's referred to as the Highveld, which is obviously a much higher altitude than we're currently at. And where we're sitting now is referred to as the Lowveld. And the Lowveld is typically where the game-rich areas of South Africa are found. The Kruger National Park sits within the Lowveld. The Timbavati Game Reserve that we're currently sitting in now, it's also in the Lowveld, and most of the big 5 game reserves that you would recognize in South Africa sit within the Lowveld. Very game-rich area. Back to these trees in the foreground, elephants like to pull their bark off. Reason being is a lot of the nutrients that the roots absorb flow through the inner bark all the way to the leaves, where photosynthesis takes place, and that's where the tree gets its energy. Now, if the elephants are able to peel the bark off, they can get at that inner bark and access all those nutrients. In fact, sometimes they push the tree over completely to get to the roots, which also, they're sucking up the nutrients in the water. So, yeah, it's a good way to get nutrients for them in the seasons where, in the winter season, when there aren't many leaves around or grass. James, what's happening in the comments there?
Not too much. Someone's asking why we haven't seen any squirrels yet. They're saying it's beautiful, and
yeah, so I can't give you a good reason as to why we haven't seen any squirrels yet. One reason I can give is probably because we haven't actually looked carefully for them. I'm sure we've driven past lots. James is concentrating on driving, and I'm concentrating on this camera here, but we will keep an eye out for them. Very much like the dwarf mongooses, and I mentioned earlier, a lot of these small animals like to soak up the sun early in the morning. At this time, we might find them on an open branch, just warming up before they get going. So looking in these trees is actually a good place to start looking for squirrels. Many of them will live in little holes in these dead trees, and they'll come out in the early morning and soak up the sunlight.
should we go to the dam?
Yeah, let's go to the dam. Let's see if we can find that hippo. Okay. Yeah, definitely. So James mentioned a hyena den earlier, and he says it's kind of on the way to the dam that we're going to. I'm just going to keep this on this view here. It's really spectacular. And, you know, the sun sets behind those mountains that we're looking at. So, you know, every sunset here in the Timbavati is an occasion. Really lovely area. And here's some of the crowned lapwings calling there. So, one of the bird species we get here in the Timbavati. James was saying that the hyena cubs are getting a little bit older now. You know, they only really use the den site when they have cubs. And the reason for the den site is to keep those little cubs safe. You know, it's just like the mongooses and many other smaller species of animals, warthogs and honey badgers, like to utilize termite mounds that have a network of tunnels underground for safety. You know, things that might prey on a hyena or warthog or a honey badger for that matter would be some of the larger predators, things like lions and leopards. And of course, if they can get underground, and you know, those tunnels underground would vary in size, and the cubs would typically be smaller than the larger predators, so they can into smaller burrows those larger predators get into. So it's a very useful home to them. Yeah. Okay, Nadav. Nadav's back. For those of you that were asking about Nadav earlier, he's back online and he's saying it's super smooth, which is cool. Is he talking about our moves or is he talking about the live stream? The commentary is super smooth. Okay, well that's good news. So yeah, you know, ideally, as mentioned earlier, for those of you that weren't with us, the Ks have kindly let us use their private game reserve to test our equipment and this live stream. And what's very unlike a private game reserve, or what's very different to this game reserve compared to, you know, the commercial game reserves that you might be used to on these live streams, a la Mala Mala, or any other ones that you might watch, is that there are very few people there'll be rangers, there'll be guides looking for animals. Whereas at this reserve, where it's private, you know, it's the Ks will come here when they have some free time from their busy work schedules and come and enjoy the reserve. But what it means is that because there aren't eyes on the ground all the time, so right now we're kind of blind as to what the animals' movements are, you know, in the commercial reserves like Mala Mala and that. We would have a good idea on the leopard's movements and the lion's movements, but right now it's pretty much a blank slate for us. We're trying to figure it out as we go along. So we're bumbling along, mostly to test this equipment we have, and perhaps we'll bump into something, but we aren't 100% sure where the game is. We have a rough idea, you know, obviously at dams like this, there may be hippos. And we did hear lions roaring last night, so we're driving in that general direction. There's a hippo here. So we're just going to stop here for a minute.
So last week we saw a crash of, I think it was 8 rhino on this corner here.
Okay, crash of 8 rhinos.
My messages. So we are buffering.
Okay.
As we carry on, you'll see something.
Yeah, and to those of you that aren't used to or haven't been to the bush, you know, it's a bit like fishing. Sometimes you get lucky, and see lots, and sometimes not. It's very unpredictable, but that's the beauty of it. Just drives I've had, so you just never know what might be around the corner. You know, we could be sitting here thinking that this is very quiet, and there could be, you know, a pack of wild dogs around the corner with a leopard in the tree. You just never know. So I'm going back to this dead tree over here. I spoke a little bit about how the elephants kill these trees, you know, and they're after the bark, the inner bark. And for some of these trees, Andrew, enjoying the morning game drive. So another loaf elder who I say enjoys this part of the world. Is that a hyena calling?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can hear a hyena calling. It's quite some distance away. I don't know if there are any roads that are close to the hyena calling, but
Yeah, that is quite far.
yeah,
It's
I think
probably on the main
yeah,
main dirt road, which we'll get onto just now. So
Yeah.
we might find it. So I think from here it might be worth, we'll go up towards the den,
Yeah.
towards the hyena den, and then from there cut back and go past where we heard the lions last night and see what we can find.
Okay, excellent. So I don't know if you heard that plan, but we're going to point our noses in the direction of the hyena den, and then from there towards where we heard the lions roaring last night. But yeah, just back to these dead trees, and you can drive, James. I'll talk about it while we're driving. You know, all the elephants kill these trees, and it's, you know, some of these trees take hundreds of years to grow to, you know, large size, and then an elephant comes along and strips the bark and kills it. So it is quite sad to see sometimes, but it is a very natural process. You know, the world has changed a lot. Elephants used to have a far greater area for them to roam, and nowadays they're kind of confined to these game reserves. So they don't give the ecosystems as much chance to recover as they once did. So there's James just pointing out this rubbing post here. So here's a dead tree. It looks like it might be a dead leadwood, but just to the, maybe if you want to turn off and I'll get a close-up of this. So just to the left of this tree, and I'm going to walk up to it in a minute, just keep an eye out for any other species that might want to eat me, James. Scorpions in here, owls, you know, all sorts of different species, hole nesters as they're called. But I just want to point out this rubbing post that James has now pointed out. So have a look at how smoothly this has been rubbed. It's actually really incredible. And it's in an ideal location and at the ideal height for something like a rhino or a buffalo to come and rub up against it. So what they will do is they will come and wallow. I'm just going to show you the dam quickly. Pardon me. They'll come and wallow in this dam, cover themselves in mud, and then right close by is this rubbing post. So once they've covered in mud, they'll come and maybe stand over this post. It looks about the right height for a rhino or buffalo to stand over, and then get into those nooks and crevices that aren't easily reached, and the mud will cake on them, and the mud will cake over parasites like ticks, and as they rub up against this post, those ticks might come off. Yeah, so you very often find these rubbing posts close to a water body, and this is a lovely example of that. James, I'm going to ask you, sorry, I'm just going to ask you to hold onto this for a minute.
Yep.
Sorry guys. Yeah, and you're welcome to just answer any questions or chat to anybody if they want.
1 second.
Okay, there you go.
I might just come around to the dam a bit, so go maybe on that back. Hi guys, so from here we can still kind of see the mountain range. Got almost the side profile of a lion, if you can see it. So one or two of the lodges in the area use that profile for their logo. We'll try and avoid showing Gareth. Just come back round to the dam. But it was rainy yesterday, but it turns out to be a beautiful day today, so we're quite lucky. These dead leadwoods, some of them are 200 to 300 years old, which is pretty amazing. And they're called leadwood because, for obvious reasons, but it's a very dense wood, hence why they're able to stand this long over all those years. Are you reading the comments?
Yeah, just having a quick look to see what people are saying. That are on the ground hurt or interfere during their hunt when an animal is chasing their prey. And sometimes you do see, especially with the cats, sometimes you do see them picking thorns out of their paws. And I'm sure it does hurt, but for the most part, I think these animals have very tough feet. I know elephants walk very carefully, and if they can, they'll avoid stepping on things that might hurt them. At night, they even put their trunks down and feel as they walk, and they place their feet very carefully. Picky saying, well, I must say it was very chilly this morning. Picky, I don't know where you are. Maybe Johannesburg. I know it's been cold there. Hey, Carolina Leone. It's been a while. He's up for a swim. No, thanks. I did go for a swim this morning, but I'm not going to go swim in this dam. Should we keep going?
Yep.
Thanks, James.
You want to take that back?
Yeah, thanks. You can take that back. Are there any animals in the water? Not that we can see. Sometimes there is a hippo there. There might be some catfish and smaller animals, but it doesn't look like there are any hippos there, and we can't see any crocodiles at this point. Have there ever been any crocodiles in this dam?
I haven't seen in a while.
Okay.
You do get them in the other dam.
Okay, so sometimes, you know, these crocodiles move around more than you would think. They actually cross over dry land to get from water point to water point. So it's always a good idea just to be wary, even if you've never seen a crocodile in a water body like this out here in the Lowveld. Never just to assume that there won't be. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. I know we were back earlier. The acacia, I think knobthorn falls on the Senegalia's family now. But most of the Senegalese, they release tannins into their leaves. The tannins are very bitter. And not only do they release them in their leaves when herbivores do feed on them, but they also release a pheromone or a gas into the air that gets carried by the wind to the neighboring acacias, which then warn them that there's a herbivore close by, so start releasing tannins to make the leaves bitter. gases, but also through fungal networks underground, which is absolutely trees here. These shrubby trees called the silver cluster leaf, and they prefer sandier soils. So you can see these trees, sand crests, where we are now driving, at slightly higher altitudes in these low-veld regions. So you'll notice there are less knob thorns here, more bush willows, more silver cluster leaves, and more marula trees that prefer the sand crests. If you have a look at the road, you can actually see the road is a little bit more sandy, and it has a sort of a pinkish color to it. This set's predominant spar that it's pinkish tinge.
We're buffing a bit as we go through these small dense areas.
Okay.
It should improve as we get to the top.
There's some fresh elephant dung. Oops, there we go. No, that's fine. And some fresh hyena tracks. So let's see. So just a quick question to all those viewers out there. I'm going to drop a few questions. It's always nice to know where you're from. So if you are from an exotic location to us, I'm sure for some of you this is an exotic location. But if you are from elsewhere in the world, let us know. Drop a flag or let us know where you're at. And if it's a really strange time where you're at, let us know. And for those of you watching this live stream, let us know if you're watching it from work. Okay, KG1, thanks for joining us again. One of the regulars, KG1. I hope that your appointment is as enjoyable as our live stream.
It's 1:41 a.m.
1:41 a.m. for Briseno. Where are you? 1:41 a.m. in the morning.
I'm just trying to for a second remember where this den is.
Okay.
I think it's up here.
Okay, I see a lot of hyena tracks in this area, so I think we're in the right area. Rachel from London. Hi, Rachel. What's it in London now? It's what, like 7:40. Okay, so maybe just before work for you. Hope you're enjoying your morning cup of coffee. You know, it's a real pleasure for us to be able to take you on these live streams, and I hope you enjoy it. Oh, here's the den, right here. Okay.
Take a walk around if you
Yeah, I'm not going to take a walk just yet. Let's just park for a little bit and see this tree. Yeah, this tree might interfere a little bit. But if it doesn't,
go back.
well, let's just stop and see if it buffers. But, guys, so we're right at this den site now. We're going to see if this holds up while we speak about it a little bit. But if you see center of screen there's a hole. Now that would be the